And welcome to our first ever episode of Two Fans Podcast. I am your co-host Joshua Ament.
And I'm your other co-host, Ari Jesselson.
So,
Josh,
what I'm,
how's about we give the fine folks at home a rundown of what happened this weekend? Just some of the highlights of just what's been the big news from Friday to Sunday, let's say.
there is something I will say later on that I want to talk about that did start a little bit as far as last Monday, but it's been a developing story updated even to the last couple of hours, but we'll get to that in a little bit because I was thinking on Saturday afternoon, oh, we have enough topics, enough stuff has happened in the sports world that we can talk about, but no. Detroit Lions and Los Angeles Rams decide, hey, why don't we trade two former number one overall picks? That'll
The
get
first
them
time ever, by the way.
Really? Did not know that.
Yeah, first time ever two first overall picks were ever traded for each other.
Of course, Detroit Lions trade their disgruntled quarterback, Matthew Stafford. I guess disgruntled was a little bit misleading, but he's wanted a way out of Detroit, and for good reason. They haven't really built around him a lot. So they sent him to the Los Angeles Rams to work with Sean McVay in exchange for Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks, and a 3rd-round pick.
Oh yeah, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN, the Rams will get the 2022 and 2023 first-round picks and a 2021 third-rounder, to be exact, along with Jared Goff. So I think this is the first time two sides won since the Stephon Diggs trade, where the Vikings obviously did draft Justin Jefferson, where it's kind of a tie where both sides worked out for it. Because when we look at the history of it, the Rams haven't had a first-round pick since 2016, where they drafted Jared Goff, actually. Before 2016 was 2015, where they got Todd Gurley. So we could see the Rams doing surprisingly well without a first-rounder, most likely through free agency and late-round picks.
Might I just want to add, the only first-round pick that the Rams have drafted and kept on their team to this day just happens to be Aaron Donald.
In 2014, right?
Yep. And he wasn't even their first-round selection. He was the 13th overall pick. They also traded for the 2nd overall pick, took Greg Robinson. He, I believe, is out of the league now.
Yes, because he was for the Browns, and then he got arrested for 159 pounds of marijuana.
Right, man. Talk about number 2 overall picks and how bad they've had it this year. But
ooh, yeah, that could be a story for another day. But when we look at the Rams, they're so successful that everyone noticed that the key part they need is a quarterback, a decent to fair quarterback. With Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay as a QB guru, we could see the Rams going far. And going back to the Lions, when we look at the Lions roster and who they did draft in the first rounds previous years, I'm not counting 2020 because I believe rookies are being too hardly graded now. But 2019, TJ Hawkinson, one of the best tight ends in the league. 2016, they got Taylor Decker, an offensive tackle, and he's a PFF grade of 82. And in 2018, they got center Frank Ragnour, who has a PFF of 80.3. Other notable Lions first-rounders were Eric Ebron, Ezekiel Anish, Ndamukong Suh, and, of course, Matthew Stafford. So the first round are usually really
do you mind
good.
if I'm sorry, I just want to butt in because you said something a little bit before about sort of the Rams, and from the Rams' perspective, well, I can definitely understand that that Matthew Stafford, yes, is an upgrade over Jared Goff. We have to really think for a second, how much of an upgrade is it? Because yes, we do realize, Jared Goff succeeded in a Sean McVay system. People have branded him a system quarterback. Again, a label I think people use more harshly than they should. The system quarterback isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if we look at just a couple of stats from this year, being able to compare Goff in a great system with McVay Stafford maybe doesn't have that exact system, but he seemed more comfortable under Darrell Bevell than Patricia. But still, the stats, if I can pull them up here, Goff was a little bit more accurate, 67% compared to 64.2%. Stafford threw for about 100 more yards, 6 more touchdowns, and a passer rating of 96.3 compared to Goff's 90 flat. So while you can definitely make a case, yes, Stafford has overall had the better year, had more general experience. Of course, he's a veteran. Also, might add on a cheaper deal. I will say, I don't think it's right to break off on his performance. I do think though he has one of the worst contracts in the league, which is good on the Rams for getting rid of that. But you do have to wonder, is this almost sort of a test for McVay? Did he sort of was Jared Goff sort of a fluke, or is he going to be able to build an even better offense around Stafford? Kind of like what you saw from John Wolford, how you put him in on week 17. They did all right. Granted, again, Kyler Murray wasn't there the whole game on the other side. We'll talk about John Wolford in a little bit, but that's certainly a question. And then on the other side with Goff also, is he going to be able to shed the label of that negative connotation of system quarterback and be able to succeed outside of a McVay-led system? With the new head coach in Dan Campbell, again, needs to prove himself. So a lot of question marks. Again, it's generally not the best of ideas to judge a pick or a trade immediately after. Ask Knicks fans how that went with Porzingis.
That's all I have on the Porzingis part. But also I feel like going back to the age, Stafford is 32, while Jared Goff is a ripe 26. So Jared Goff does have a lot of time, a little bit of more time to develop, per se. He has more time to probably get into the system in a new system as a Lions. But a big key part for the Lions is that they are losing Kenny Golladay, I believe his name is. Because he's most likely going to leave also. It's uncertain what the future of Detroit would be. So I could really do see him walking away from the Lions.
That is fair, but let's. I will say, as a Chicago Bears fan, I will try to be optimistic about my divisional rival over here and look at that. Yes, maybe the Lions don't want to, or maybe Kenny Golladay doesn't want to go back to the Lions. But there are a lot of good wide receivers on the market this year in free agency. You got Allen Robinson, you got T.Y. Hilton, again, you got Golladay. They could really re-sign one of them. For whatever reason, Marvin Jones has just been just so good on the Lions ever since he got there. He just hasn't slowed down. And really, you have the two-headed monster DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson on that offense. That maybe even with Goff and with a little bit more help in the O-line and with a new system that Campbell can set up. And yes, I know it's a lot of ifs, but Lions fans certainly have at least one thing in all that to look forward to.
Yeah, I think the futures are looking bright for them. But as a Cleveland Browns fan, I do kind of want there to be another bottom tier team to be the new laughable stocks for the next 20 plus years.
Yeah, but there are a couple other teams that can fill that.
Jets. Okay, but yeah,
another
I think
thing.
we know.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's. I think for a certainty, we do know the type of players Jared Goff is to ascent, but we definitely do know who Matthew Stafford is. We do know Matthew Stafford has a better arm. We do know he's been more experienced as a QB. And I feel like with Sean McVay's system, I feel like Matthew Stafford is going to flourish there. Well, Jared Goff, just like the rest of the Lions, is going to need more time to get to the rhythm of everything. Especially playing the Packers twice, playing the Bears defense twice, and seeing how the Vikings could be. I think it is going to be a little tough for the new guys to show up.
Yeah, I will say one thing about one thing about Jared Goff versus Stafford again. It's kind of just like this weird, I guess, paradox in a sense where Goff, like, generally you generally see as the more inexperienced, more fledgling type of guy, and yet he has in the 4 years he's been a quarterback for the Rams has had more playoff experience than Stafford, has been to a Super Bowl. So that's something Stafford will hopefully finally be in the playoffs. But again, the NFC West is still a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And then
Probably
just one
the
more
most
thing.
toughest division in the league outside of the AFC North, in my opinion.
I think even better, but we can talk about that a little bit later. Just one more thing about the Lions before, and then I think we can move on unless you have something else you want to add. Is just this is the move that they like. I could not have seen a better move for them in terms of a rebuild, in terms of, hey, there's a guy who's proven that he can win in a particular system. Let's see maybe if we can bring a similar system here. If not, we have a lot of draft capital and we're ready to rebuild.
I do agree with you, and I do believe the future is looking bright. So, what else happened this weekend?
Man, I will say I did mention my Bears fandom pales only in comparison to my Chicago Cubs fandom, and boy, do I have a lot to say about the NL Central in general. So Friday morning, I believe it was, the Chicago Cubs signed free agent outfielder Jock Peterson, the former Dodger, 1 year for $7 million. Shortly after that, a tweet from NBC Chicago reporter David Kaplan confirms that Cubs owner Tom Ricketts wants to increase Cubs player payroll for 2021 in a division, and I quote, the Cubs view as winnable. Now, if that seems like the Cubs are on the rise and ready to have this year be the year that they take the division, well, you wouldn't be wrong from that description, but they're not. They just won the division last year through strong pitching, particularly Yu Darvish and Kyle Hendricks, both ERAs under 3. Young pitcher Albert Alzolay, he only had 6 games, but a 2.95 ERA. And that was including a rocky debut. Even the bullpen started to look good with Jimmy Jeffress at a 1.54 ERA. 8 saves, giving them a legitimate closer they really hadn't had since Chapman back in 2016. Even you have some guys like Dan Winkler, Ryan Tepera stepping up. Even Craig Kimbrell did pretty well in September. Starting pitchers had an ERA of 3.56, and the team sort of ERA plus adjusted for ballpark. It was 7th best in the majors. 8 shutouts and 2 complete game shutouts, both major league leaders for the season. And now that best part of that Cubs team is decimated. The rotation is just Kyle Hendricks and Albert Alzolay that's remaining. Yu Darvish was sent to the Padres after a near Cy Young season. Honestly, maybe Cy Young without Trevor Bauer. Credit to him for a good Cy Young season. But Darvish and Caratini sent to the Padres, one of the deepest farm systems in the league, and they don't even get a single top 100 prospect in return. Most notable guy is Zach Davies, who John Lester, again, he didn't have the best of years, probably the number 5 guy, but he wanted to re-sign with the Cubs. He wanted to retire a Cub, and this offseason, the same offseason where Ricketts wants to increase payroll, and Lester wants to take a hometown discount to remain with the Cubs, and they turn him away. He signs with the Nats anyway. You also lose Jose Quintana. Wasn't started in 2020 because of injuries and whatnot. But he's now in Anaheim with the Angels, and you just it just makes me so confused as to what Ricketts is thinking, that now after you let the best part of your team be decimated, you see a division you just won as winnable. Because what do you have now? You have a hitting core that last year underwhelmed to no end. You had Ian Happ and Jason Hayward have pretty good seasons. And other than that, nobody was significantly better than average. Maybe Contreras, but that would be a stretch. But on the other hand, I thought that would be enough for me to rant about. And I realized I'm talking for long enough. If you have anything you want to add to that, go ahead and butt in.
No, I was just gonna say that's what we call a bro moment in the industry. You know, as sometimes the fans do kind of know what's better for the team more than the owners. But going back to the Cubs, Chris Bryant's contract, he's going to be making in 2021 $19 million.
Oh, I will. Again, Yu Darvish, I just talked about a Cy Young candidate who he was playing up to his contract to, I believe, was a little bit more than 22 million last year. He was due 22 million this year. Shipping to San Diego, and Jock Peterson. You may notice I mentioned before, only signed for $7 million, and it just seems so clear to me from this offseason, from what the Ricketts have said in previous off seasons about, we don't have any more money to go after free agents. It's the MLB. It is a no salary cap league. You're the third largest market in America, a historically loyal fan base. Why you have as much money as like everyone except like Yankees and Dodgers? What are you waiting for? Why do you want to like shed payroll? And yes, they say they want to increase it, but the actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. It doesn't seem like it seems like they're just saying one thing and doing the other.
Yeah, this will certainly not be the last time I say it, and I hope it will, and I hope he hears it, but sell the team, Ricketts. On the other hand, in the NL Central.
Okay, hypothetical. Sorry to interrupt, but hypothetical.
Okay.
Cubs sell it. First player, who do they get? Who do they sign? I'm saying Bartolo Colon.
I wouldn't be 100% opposed to that. But let's go to a more optimistic story for some. Again, not me for a Cubs fan, because I thought Friday afternoon, that was all I had to rant about. Friday night, per Ken Rosenthal, the St. Louis Cardinals trade for Colorado Rockies third baseman, an 8-time Gold Glove winner, 5-time All-Star, Nolan Arenado. And you might think, what did they have to give up for that? Well, the Cardinals have 3 top 100 prospects. All of them are ranked by MLB as top 40. Dylan Carlson, he's played in the majors last year. Matthew Liberatore and Nolan Gorman. You would think, how many of them are they going to give up? None. Not a single top 100 prospect was sent to the Rockies in return for arguably one of the best maybe one of the best players in the league. Not only that, but the Rockies have agreed to pay about $50 million of the remaining $234 million on his contract. For all the math nerds there, that's about 21% of the contract being paid by the Rockies.
God damn.
And let's just look at our Arenado, just to marvel for like what he's done and what it's gonna be for the Cardinals. 8 seasons, 8 Gold Gloves. Has had that on lock. In the 2020 shortened season, led the entire majors in defensive wins above replacement with 1.7. His last full season was 2019. He ranked number 9 among position players in total wins above replacement among position players. 2015 and 2019 was an excellent stretch as a hitter. His OPS plus, where 100 is the league average. He ranked 100 in 2015 for the next 5 years, 124, 129, 130, 133, and then 130 in 2019. Again, a short season in 2020 did regress a lot to 84, but again, it's a short season, so how much stock do you want to take into it?
And also, sorry to interrupt. Just adding to his awards, he also is a 4-time Silver Slugger and a 4-time Platinum Glove winner. So he does have a lot on his resume.
Yeah, certainly. He's also very durable. That 15-19 stretch I just mentioned, you have 162 games a season. He only missed 23 in total in those 5 seasons. Again, he did miss the last week. I guess a little more than a week. He missed 12 games in 2020. Spent the last week on the IL, and he is again aging. He's going to be turning 30 this year, and he can opt into this mega deal from now through 2026 when he's going to be 36. But he does also have opt-outs in 2021 and 22. Let's just look for a second at sort of how the Cardinals got away with this, and it just has to do with Arenado clearly wanted to get out of there. He's had issues have always been reported since he signed his extension in 2019 with the Rockies GM Jeff Bridich. He thought they would sort of build around him. That didn't happen, and that's why he's even willing to defer some money on this deal in order to be traded. I'll talk about the Rockies for a little bit for anyone interested in their situation. They're certainly in a tough spot, especially again in the majors where it's so big market heavy. When you're in a smaller market like Denver, with a team that just hasn't been consistently good in the pandemic, you have really not a lot of fan interest, not a lot of revenue generated, and it just keeps spiraling down. And it's not like the owners can tap into any sort of excess fund themselves. They rank 5th lowest in net worth among MLB owners, so they're probably not going to want to invest a lot in the team. And again, they're paying $50 million for Arenado's deal. Their current payroll, now that Arenado's gone, is not even double that. It's $94 million.
So they really just shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to add, they got less than what the Red Sox got when they traded Mookie away.
Mookie Betts. Yeah. Yeah, certainly. And again, but again, let's as much as I hate to praise the Cardinals, I really do have to, just for the organization seeing this situation, being able to take advantage really so flawlessly, and not just this, but for being able to not only now emerge probably as the favorites for the NL Central, but to do so after not even coming close to rebuilding. Their last losing record, do you want to guess when that was?
2005.
Oh, you're pretty close. 2007.
Oh wow.
That 13-year stretch, they've made the playoffs 7 times in that span, 5 division titles, 2 pennants, and a World Series. And it's not like they're just carried by old talent from an old rebuild. Let's look at some of the war leaders from last year. Paul Goldschmidt, they traded for him just a couple of years ago. Colton Wong and Tommy Edman, 29 and 25 years old respectively. They weren't there back in 2008. Harrison Bader is only 26. Kwon Yoon Kim, he's 31 from Korea. Again, Korean players get there a little bit when they're a little bit older, because the KBO and transfer posting waivers. Sorry, I don't know the terminology on that. Um, Tyler O'Neill, 25 years old. Dakota Hudson, 25. Um, it's just a continuous, I guess, string of excellent scouting and excellent trading that just leads them to just keep being good. And as a fan of their biggest rival, I will tip my hats to them and loathe how they win yet another division title.
Well, I don't really think it was expert trading. I think it was taking advantage of poor, I guess, judgment of the Rockies.
I don't think I don't. Yeah.
I think they just
I
robbed
mean, I
them
think the
blind.
Rockies were just stuck in a bad situation. Granted, of their creation, but it's not like they were in too deep and they just kind of had to cut their losses, and then they cut deep.
Yeah, well, sorry just to cut you short, but this was just announced recently by Pete Abram that Boston Red Sox second baseman Dustin Pedroia is retiring from the MLB.
Yeah, I had heard that. But what can we say about him? I mean, he's had an amazing career. Certainly a legend in Boston.
Yeah, I think he's up there with Big Papi, David Ortiz. Greatness in modern day Red Sox players. I don't think you can't say anything that doesn't show already. I think he's one of the best to ever do it. And same thing with David Wright, that injuries really devastated a great career.
Absolutely. Just while we're on the subject, a couple of other MLB headlines from today that we won't necessarily go in depth, but just brush over. The Baltimore Orioles are trading starting pitcher Alex Cobb to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And the MLB The Show 21 has revealed their cover athlete as Fernando Tatis Jr., which I will say certainly makes a lot of sense, as he is both unofficially and I guess officially now new face of the MLB.
Yeah, I think especially after that Grand Slam, which everyone was kind of there was a little bit of controversy in that. I think he really solidified himself as a big face in the MLB, the Deion Sanders of the MLB, if you will.
Certainly. So, all right, I gave my little rant. You have a couple things you want to say
about the MLB or anything else that happened?
Anything else?
Well, in the NHL, as a Rangers fan, I gotta say, Tony DeAngelo, that scoundrel. For those who don't know, after Saturday's 5-4 overtime loss against the Penguins, defenseman Tony DeAngelo was caught in an altercation and fight with goalie Alexander Georgiev. Sorry if I butchered your name. But after the loss in the tunnels, they were caught in an altercation. They said they had a back and forth, and there were punches thrown away. And Tony DeAngelo was placed on waivers last night. From the multiple sources, he was just last year, he was part of Deadspin's top 50 idiots of 2020. According to Barry Petschke of D-Factor, and I quote, a 2014 first-round pick, DeAngelo was suspended twice in the minors for violating the OHL's harassment, abuse, and diversity policy by using unspecified slurs, one of them towards a teammate. So from there, we could see he does have a history of being just a bad person.
Yeah, we'll certainly say list of top 50 idiots is not a list I would want to be on, but I'm glad that I know so that I know not to be on it.
Oh yeah, he was ranked pretty high also, mid 20s actually.
He's made a name for himself.
Oh yeah, and also going back to just recently, that on November 4th, 2020 to November 6th, November 6th, 2020, his Twitter was deactivated. Yeah, do you want to guess what he talked about?
I'm going to guess, since it's early November, that it was something to do with the election.
He also tweeted that, but on November 4th, he tweeted, "What happened to COVID-19? The last 48 hours?" ? There's a screenshot on Twitter by user Mur Out Loud. If you don't know what happened on on that day, the United States set a one-day record with 102,831 new cases and 1,097 deaths. Yeah, not a good not a good figure to really look up to. Also, he also tweeted, and I quote, "Until November 4th, fake news media is going full on COVID. So we can really see what his true character shines. He's racist, first of all. He's brash. He's taking this. He's far right. And for something in that position with a troubled history, I don't see the Rangers or anyone taking up him, despite last year playing 68 games, 15 goals, 38 assists, and his 53 points, which is good. It ranked in top 5 for defensemen. But I feel like you really want someone with that character on your team.
I certainly don't think I am the first to want to dub him the Antonio Brown of hockey, but it seems like an apt analogy. With you just can't handle the off the ice issues.
Yeah, and we also see a history of him arguing and fighting with his own teammates back in the OHL, where he said racial slurs to a teammate, and back a few nights ago when he was in an altercation with a teammate. So it's not like his character, like, it's also out of that anagram with Antonio Brown, because it's him fighting his teammates. It's not even fighting an opponent or arguing with the opponent, something like Juju Smith-Schuster or Chase Claywood would do. It's fighting his own teammates, which I don't think many people will put up with.
Yeah, I mean, I think like what do
I say you to Tony DeAngelo.
I will make a note to bleep that out.
Oh wait, we might have kids watching this. Yeah. We will bleep that out, parents at home, and we'll edit some stuff.
Yeah. All right. I mean, really, the least I can say for DeAngelo is I certainly hope he finds a change of heart and is able to improve as a person and be back on the ice.
Yeah, just change for the better, because his stats really do show what a great player that he could be and that he will be if he could change who he is. And not even change, if he could just shut up and stop fighting with teammates, people will tolerate with that. And I think he could become a good player. He will be back on a team.
All right. Moving on to something a little more lighthearted. The NBA at the start of the season had kind of just accepted that there was going to be an All-Star break, but the consensus seemed to be that there wasn't going to be an All-Star game, which makes sense as you're playing still in the second wave of the pandemic, without a bubble. It just doesn't make sense. However, last Friday, according to Woj, the NBA and NBPA, excuse me, did I say last Friday? I meant last Monday. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
The league and the union are discussing scenarios to still hold an All-Star game in March. One site under discussion is Atlanta, home of Turner Sports. That idea includes providing support for HBCUs and COVID-19 relief. It's been since updated to say that it would take place March 6th and 7th, the weekend, which was in the middle of the scheduled All-Star break. And it would be far scaled down, and I quote, per Windhorse, to a typical All-Star weekend. Again, they said the focused on supporting the HBCUs. They said the Hawks Arena, State Farm Arena, could host it, or an HBCU in northern Georgia. And again, according to Windhorst, there's more of an emphasis on the game, on sort of the game itself, rather than the festivities and the fan experience. However, today, Mark Stein has updated that, saying that the league and the union are now discussing incorporating 3-point and dunk contests into this All-Star weekend. And I really just got to say, is it worth it? Because I don't think so, no matter how you slice it. In the NBA this year, I believe 23, maybe 20, I'm pretty sure it's 23 games that have already been postponed due to COVID. And when you have players from so many teams all convening in one place, like what happens if there's one positive test there? Everyone's going to be in close contact with that guy, to where you're really either going to have to shut down the league for a couple of weeks or play games without all-stars. And neither of those really seems to be a good strategy for the league. I will say I mean I can't be opposed to support for COVID relief or for HBCUs. But I don't see how it's so necessary to have it all in person in order to do that. You can certainly have COVID relief and HBCU support in sort of a virtual all-star weekend. The dunk contest and three-point contest, like even the skills challenge, if you want to incorporate that, really don't need to be done in person. Nothing is like directly influencing one another. Like you could again as far as travel for the players, like you legitimately could just film it, like have a couple of camera crews in teams like practice facilities live, like maybe arenas if you want, again, like this spectacle. But it seemed like they didn't want that, or they didn't need that. But whatever the case, it just convening, having guys from minimum 10, maybe even 20 teams, all come together just in one place. One positive test it would just derail. I don't think it's worth the risk in the slightest.
Yeah, well, I think that, you're already playing basketball. The NBA is still going on. So why not have the skills contest, the three-point shot, the dunk contest, if you're already going to be in person? Because I feel like with taking that away, the NBA is going to lose a lot of revenue. They're going to lose a lot of fans. And I don't really see how they could win if they don't do it. I think if you want to be COVID safe, you could have a few people in and just use different sides of the arena. Or even you could do it in their driveways, set up a basketball hoop, give them a small camp. But I think, they're already there. Let them have the fun.
I mean, no, I certainly get what you're saying, that if they're going to be in person anyway, you might as well have the 3-point, the All-Star Saturday, because really, like we all watch All-Star Weekend for All-Star Saturday. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
But my problem just comes from having that in-person All-Star experience to begin with. Because again, that, like I said, that All-Star Saturday can be done virtually if they want, and it's much more COVID safe. When you have guys from so many teams, like it's really just like the bubble. Like one test can burst that bubble.
Yeah.
That
I agree with you.
that it's gonna extend to basically half the teams in the league. Like probably at least 3/4 of games or something. It is. I just
Well,
again
I
I
think
like I. No, go ahead.
sorry. Oh, I think if someone does get testing, even if they don't, I think after the All-Star weekend, shut the NBA down for 2 weeks and start it from there. It gives the players the rest, and it is certainty that everyone's going to have it while having an All-Star game, while having an All-Star weekend.
I mean, yeah, that certainly is an option, and I would be surprised if Adam Silver isn't thinking about worst case scenarios right now. But for me, it just seems, especially since they want to get the season done before the Olympics, if that's still happening, I'm sure they're still planning on it. But
Yeah,
it just seems, like I said it before, it seems like too much of a risk to take.
yeah. Well, also Adam Silver, he's a great GM. Really thinks about everything through. Of course, the NBA bubble in the last season, it really did work. It was better than any system in sports. So I think there is going to be a plan. But speaking of the complete opposite of good GMs and good practices, the NFL Pro Bowl was this weekend, was Sunday afternoon. And they played it on Madden 21. Now, for those who know, It has a Metacritic user score of 0.2, the lowest user score of any game.
Okay, that low. Wow, that was a shock even to me. I thought it was at least like 1, 2.
No, the user score is now 0.3, and on release it was like 0. On release it was 0.3, and now if you Google today on Metacritic, it is 0.2.
I mean, I've had I know many a person have had their complaints about Madden and about just its, I guess, lack of innovation, sort of emphasis on the ultimate team, and nothing really anywhere else. I think. Do you share that sentiment?
Yeah, well, also we could talk about how bad Madden is now, how good ESPN 2K5 was, how good the older Maddens is. That could be an entire episode. But just simply, in the video, Jamal Adams, who was playing the game, called the same play 4 times in a row, and it worked 4 times in a row, kind of showing that this game is kind of maybe broken. Of course, NASCAR's Bubba Wallace participated, which a lot of people are upset with having an NFL All-Star game, but having a NASCAR racer being part of it, it really does
I
take
mean,
away from.
were they upset that Snoop Dogg was there too? It was, did they not mention that it was celebrities included?
I mean, I don't know, because I feel like there's a difference between rapper and actor Snoop Dogg versus NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace. More people are gonna know who Snoop Dogg is compared to Bubba. No disrespect to Bubba Wallace, of course.
I mean, maybe this time last year, I could agree with that. But if you don't know who Bubba Wallace is after
The incident,
after the whole the Confederate flags and
the
the noose
noose,
and
and all that.
everything, then really, where have you been?
Yeah, well, I agree with you on that one, but I just feel like it kind of takes away from this is the this is the Pro Bowl. This should be the All-Star game for any sport. And I feel like just taking away having celebrities in it, doing a game that most people didn't like. If you go online, you will most likely see the hashtag drop EA like
Yeah, I
on
could see
Reddit,
that.
our
I was
side.
looking at Sorry, I was looking at the replay from the NFL stream. The chat was flooded with drop EA, Madden sucks, all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And a lot of these clips are, you could see them, like the Jamal Adams clip is on Instagram. So you could see that they're trying to make this funny. They're trying to make this as a joke. Well, for a lot of people, it's kind of taken a serious thing. As a lot of people will say, the new Madden games are busted. They're only for the money. That's because with microtransactions and Road for Glory, franchise mode, all that, Ultimate Team especially.
yeah, it's just like I said. Like it seems like all their resources are being pulled in Ultimate Team because that's just where they get the most money.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you play franchise mode, you don't have to spend a dime.
Yeah, and going back to other sports, sorry, I want to make this more in the Pro Bowl, but franchise mode in 2K is 80 years, while the Madden is 30 years. And even if you're not going to get through all 30 years or 80 years, it's just nice to have the longevity. But yeah, so there's a lot of people complaining about the Pro Bowl. I thought it was because Jamal Adams is kind of funny, so I think it was enjoyable for a lot of people. But there's also people saying about the game, it has that whole controversy with the game. And I feel like power to the player or power to the people is such a big thing that people don't understand and recognize, that if people just stop buying product or stop seeing this or doing that, your companies are going to notice that and they'll try to change.
Absolutely, I could talk about that for a while. Both with Madden, also with as a big Pokemon fan, with the whole National Dex controversy and so many people sort of publicly saying, "Oh, Sword and Shield are absolutely terrible games. They're not even trying." But really, what they're doing is just giving the games so much more publicity. Like if
Yeah,
people
because
just stay quiet, don't talk about the games, don't buy the games, like your wallet speaks louder than your Twitter feed.
exactly, any publicity is good publicity at the end of the day. And I feel like going back to video games, Sonic Mania. Before in the past, Sonic doesn't have a good reputation, but then Sega hired outside developers like Christian Whitehead, and they got a lot of guys to make Sonic Mania, which is seen as one of the best Sonic games, if not the best. Kind of listening to what fans wanted by getting fans along for the team. So it really shows when companies do realize, when you do something about it, companies are going to realize and see and try to do better.
All right, now I think we're really veering off topic here. Unless you wanna fall down this rabbit hole further, or you have other stuff to get back on topic.
No, I think that's kind of it. Just your word is powerful. That's what I'm going to end it off with.
That is something to end it off with. Powerful message. Your word is powerful. And if you're still with us listening, thank you so much for bearing with us. We will certainly try to improve ourselves. And if you have anything you want us to talk about, you can email us at twofanspodcast@gmail.com. And we will certainly try to incorporate it.
Number 2, fans podcast, one word, at gmail.com. Just got to specify that. And you can listen to us at YouTube, Anchor, or Spotify. And please feel to reach out to us. We'll love to talk to you guys. We'll love to hear your opinions about this. And maybe we'll bring you on the show.
All right. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening to this first episode of the Two Fans Podcast. We'll be doing this every afternoon, Monday through Thursdays. So until next time, we will talk to you later.